Welcome to part 2 of my tic-tac-toe TikTok paint and stitch along. I am so excited. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ellen. I'm a needlepoint designer, and I am teaching newbie needlepointers how to paint their own canvas and stitch their own canvas. So if that's something that you're interested in, go back and watch part 1 so that you can stitch along with us. The learning targets for today. If you're not a teacher, then you probably do not know what a learning target is. A learning target is basically, as the learner, what should I be able to do at the end of the lesson? Today's learning targets are, I can cut my canvas and I can prep my canvas for painting. Now, what are you going to need for today's lesson? You're gonna need your canvas. You're gonna need something to measure your canvas. It can be like a sewing measuring tape, a regular measuring tape, a ruler, really anything. Anything that can measure will work. You need a micron pen or acrylic paint or an acrylic paint pen, some scissors, and then your artist tape. Now, depending on which mesh size you got is going to determine how big you cut your canvas. I'll put the measurements on the screen for 18 mesh and 13 mesh. It just depends on what you got. Your canvas will be much bigger than this. I'm working with something smaller so that it's easier for me to show you guys how to cut the canvas correctly. So you'll notice that your canvas has a bunch of intersections. You are gonna wanna cut in between the intersections in the channels. First, you're gonna measure, okay, let's just say I need to cut 5. So I'll measure that first. And I am making marks with a micron pen. I would not use anything other than a micron pen or acrylic paint. Any other marker or paint will transfer onto the fibers when you start stitching. You do not want that. So I made the mark here, and I'm gonna cut in between you guys see that where I made the cut? Okay. Cutting in between the intersections. All right, now I gotta measure again. I want it to be 5 by 5. Okay. And again, I'm going to cut in between those intersections. Okay. And then you're left with a perfect square. Now, when we go to tape the canvas, I'm using 1 inch artist tape. And if you're following along with me and you've bought off my Amazon storefront, then we have the same thing. But 1 inch tape I have found is the best. If you are working with 13 mesh, you're gonna count up 6.5 rows. So these are rows on the canvas. If you're 18 mesh, you're gonna count up 9 rows. The mesh size is 13 mesh means 13 intersections per square inch. 18 mesh means 18 intersections per square inch. And if we're working with 1 inch artist tape, then we want half the inch on one side and half the inch on the other. And taping off your canvas basically just keeps your canvas from unraveling or fraying. It protects your fibers as you're stitching because they can snag. So it's just, taping your canvas is not necessary, but it's important. So I have 13 mesh, so I will be counting up 6.5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this is my least favorite part. And then I just kind of like fold it over and then I cut. There we go. And then I do that all the way around. And I kind of just like look and see like, okay, this will be enough. Now, don't stress too much about the tape. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now that we are prepped, we are going to find the center of our canvas because we will paint starting in the center. Now, again, micron pen or your acrylic paint or your acrylic paint pen, nothing else. I'm warning you now, nothing else. So, I have a quick little hack that I learned from Mary Pugh over on her TikTok. Before, when I was finding the center, I was carefully measuring my canvas. She's got a quick hack for that. So what you do is you fold your canvas in half one way, okay? And you find the center, or what you think looks like the center, and you draw a line across. And this micron pen is giving out on me. I'm trying to do it where you guys can see. There we go. All right, so you guys can see that. I drew a line. Then you're gonna turn it and do the same exact thing. Just gonna draw another line. Okay? And then, so for me, I always do that. Mine ends up looking like a T, but it should, sorry, I had to bear down, guys. It's gonna come out looking like an X marks the spot, and that is the center intersection of your canvas, okay? And I keep talking about intersections. They're very important. I guess I could add this as a learning target. We'll understand what an intersection is. And it is where the horizontal and vertical pieces of mesh intersect. And that is it for part 2. Part 3, we will learn how to read a chart and learn how to put the paint onto the canvas.